In this video, we want to review slope, specifically parallel slope and perpendicular slope. What you need to remember when we talk about slope, we're talking about the rise over the run, or the change in y over the change in x, which is the same as y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. These are both subtraction. If we're looking at a graph, when we talk about rise, we're talking about up or down. Up is positive, down is negative. And when we're talking about run, we're talking about left or right, but I'm always asking you guys, focus on right. Right is positive. Read your graphs starting on the left, going to the right, just like you would read a sentence. For slopes to be parallel, they have to be the exact same thing. Not any difference at all. Same fractions, same positive, same negative, everything is identical. If they are perpendicular, then they are two things. Opposite, meaning one is positive, the other is negative, and reciprocals, meaning if one is A over B, the other is B over A. You have to have both of those to be true, both opposite and reciprocal. In example 1, I'm asking you just find the slope of a line that goes through points A and B. Okay. You can use our slope formula. Oftentimes we're just going to substitute into this slope formula. My slope is going to be equal to something over something, or something minus something, and subtraction. Be careful with your negatives. I'm subtracting my y coordinates in my numerator. This is y1, this is y2. So it's -3 and +4. Then my x coordinates in my denominator, x1 and x2, means I'm going to do 10 minus -4. You can't leave this as just a subtraction and say, oh, the negative's taken care of. It's not. You have to consider that that is a double negative, giving me a slope of 3 minus 4 is -7. 10 minus -4 is 14. Simplify slopes at all times. We talked in class about how you can do that with your graphing calculators. If I put -7 divided by 14, I'll get a decimal. Choose the math button and frac, F-R-A-C, which is the first option, and then hit enter. It will simplify your fraction for you. You get -1/2. That is the slope of the line between A and B. Parallel slope then means it's exact same thing. If this slope of this line is -1/2, the slope of any parallel line is -1/2. Perpendicular slope is the opposite. These are negative, so this one would be positive. I don't need the addition sign. I don't need a positive sign. And reciprocal. This is 1 over 2. This is 2 over 1. Okay. Just like when we're talking about most things, I don't need a denominator of 1. If you write it, you're not wrong. I'll be fully happy with that. You can leave it as just 2. -1 over 2, +2 over 1. Opposite reciprocals. Okay. Take a minute, go ahead, press pause, and try to do the same thing here with number 2. When you're done, unpause it to check your work. Alright, so for number 2, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, I get 13 over 6. That's already simplified. If I put it in my calculator, got a decimal, do math frac, I get 13 over 6 again. That's why that's my slope. Parallel is exact same. Perpendicular is opposite. This was positive, now it's negative. And reciprocal, 13 over 6 becomes 6 over 13. This last problem is going to be very similar to what we talked about you might be asked to do on the test. So when I want to find the slope of these lines, line AE, A is the point on the left, E is the point on the right. Remember, finding slope, I'm always working from left to right. So I start at A and I find my rise is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down. And my run is 1, 2, 3 to the right. The slope of line AE would be -6 over 3, but that simplifies to -2 or -2 over 1. Remember, I don't mind which one you'd use as long as you simplify your slopes. looking at line, let's say, BD. Remember, so I want to kind of talk about how this is going to be different than line AE. Line AE, you can look and say, go start at A and go to E. And that works because A is on the left, E is on the right. When I say find the slope of line BD, that doesn't mean start at B and go to D. It means start on the left, and that's D, and go to B. So that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rise, and 1, 2, 3 run. Up 6, right 3 is positive over positive. I get 6 over 3. That simplifies to 2 over 1. Go ahead and press pause and try to find the slopes of the other 4 lines here, please. So for line BC, it went down 8, right 2, negative 8 over 2, which is negative 4 over 1. Line EB is up 2, right 4. 2 over 4 simplifies to 1 over 2. Line AD goes down 10, then right 4. Negative 10 over 4 is negative 5 over 2. Then line DC goes down to right 5, negative 2 over 5. At this point, hopefully we were able to find all of our slopes accurately. I want us to be able to compare all 6 of these slopes and decide, and we have to have them simplified like that, if any of them are parallel. So look, I have negative 2 over 1, negative 4 over 1, 2 over 1, negative 2 over 5, negative 5 over 2, and 1 over 2. Parallel, remember, means exact same. None of these are exactly the same. I have negative 2 over 1 and 2 over 1, but that's not exactly the same. And I have 2 over 1 and 1 over 2, also not exactly the same. So there are no parallel lines here. Remember what I talked about. We need to use correct geometric symbols if we did have parallel lines. So as an example, I could have had line WT parallel to line HS. That's how I would write correct geometric notation. We don't have that here. We have no parallel lines. I just wanted to show you an example of what we would write. Perpendicular, though, we do have here. Okay? And you got to make sure you're careful. A or D and F are not perpendicular because they're both negative. They are reciprocals. I do have 2 over 5, 5 over 2, but they're not opposites. I have a negative and another negative, not reciprocals. Okay. Similarly, E and B, so line EB and line BD are reciprocals, but they are not opposites. They're both positive. That's not perpendicular. The only example of perpendicular we have here is line AE and line EB. Negative 2 over 1 and positive 1 over 2. So to state my perpendicular lines, I would say that line AE with those symbols is perpendicular to line EB. I would need all of those symbols. And the explanation I would give is because their slopes are opposite reciprocals.